Today we are going to talk about rhetorical synthesis questions on the SAT reading section. Here's an example of what a rhetorical synthesis question looks like. You will always notice these by having the bullet points on the left, the question at the top, and the four answer choices. These are always the last questions on any SAT reading module. To remind you, the five categories of questions on the SAT reading are vocabulary questions, which come first, reading comprehension questions, which are the second category. Third is grammar. The fourth one consecutively would be transitions. And then the final type of question is this one, rhetorical synthesis. Usually you would find these around number 24 to 27 on every module. To remind you, the order that I recommend doing questions in is to skip the reading comprehension questions, do the vocab first, skip reading comprehension questions and jump to the grammar, do the transition questions next, and finally rhetorical synthesis questions before returning to reading comprehension. This strategy allows you to approach the longest, hardest questions, which are the reading comprehension questions, last, so you know exactly how much time you have for them, and it doesn't eat into the time for the other questions, which are generally quicker. That means even though rhetorical synthesis questions are last on every module, you won't be doing them last. Let's take a look at some quick facts about this type of question. You will see about 4 to 8 examples between the two modules on the test. They are always the last ones, right? Again, they start around number 23, 24 and go to number 27. And questions will feature a series of bullet point notes that will be on the side. Always, you will be asked to synthesize the information in the notes to achieve a rhetorical goal. Here are 3 examples. It could say something like, the student wants to emphasize the aim of the study. The question could say, the student wants to emphasize the study's methodology, or the student wants to emphasize the duration and purpose of the work. Now, this is the problem-solving process for this type of question. The first thing is, do not read the notes right away. In fact, for over 75% of these questions, you don't actually need to read the notes to solve the question. So without reading the notes first, what you do is you read the first sentence of the actual question. All right, so don't read the notes. Go to the question first instead. Then go to the 4 answer choices and simply ask, does this answer choice answer the question? If it does, leave it as an option. But if it does not answer the question, eliminate it as an option. Your goal is to eliminate 3 options. If you can eliminate 3 options and the last one does answer the question, that is your answer. However, if you can only eliminate 1 or 2 options because they don't answer the question, but you still have 2 or maybe even 3 left standing, that's when you have to read the notes. Let's take a look at an example. Here's a question. Again, we do not read the bullet points first. Instead, we read the question. The student wants to present the study and its findings. So let's go to answer choice A. In 2021, this person studied pterosaur jaw bones and was initially unsure if the bones belonged to juveniles or adults. That presents the study, but not so much the findings. I don't know what they found from it. So A would be incorrect. Let's go on to B. Pterosaur jaw bones located in the Sahara Desert were the focus of a 2021 study. I still don't see any findings from this. B is out. Let's go to C. In a 2021 study, this person used advanced microscope techniques to analyze the jawbones of pterosaurs, flying reptiles that existed millions of years ago. I know more about the study, but I still don't know the findings, so C cannot be the right answer. Let's go to D. In a 2021 study, this person determined that pterosaur jawbones located in the Sahara Desert had few growth lines and thus belonged to juveniles. That presents the study and gives us the findings. Therefore, D would be the right answer. We did not actually have to read the bullet points. And if we had, it may have confused us. It may have distracted us from our actual goal, which is to answer the question. Here's another example. So the question here says, the student wants to emphasize the distance covered by the Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike. Let's look at our choices. A. The 62-mile-long Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike connected the Pennsylvania cities of Philadelphia and Lancaster. I see a distance, 62 miles, and it talks about the turnpike itself. A seems like it could work. Let's go to B. The Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike was the first private turnpike. That doesn't tell me what the distance is. B cannot work. Let's go to C. The Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike, which connected two Philadelphia, Pennsylvania cities, was built between these years. Does not tell me the distance. And then D, finally, does not tell me the distance either. Therefore, A is the right answer. Let's look at another example. Here, we want to read the question. The student wants to present the primary aim of the research study. Let's go to the choices. What we're looking for is, does it present the primary aim? Another word for aim is the goal, right? What we're trying to figure out. If we go to A, it says his team wanted to better understand the mechanics behind bird nests' uniquely flexible yet cohesive structural properties. He wanted to understand. That sounds like a goal. A is a primary aim. So A looks good. And if you go to the other choices, none of them actually give us a goal, an aim. B tells you what they did. They used laboratory models. C tells you what they found. They found that the structures became stiffer. And then D tells you a conclusion as well, but none of them actually give you a primary aim. This is the final example we'll look at today. The question again is at the top. The student wants to present the study to an audience already familiar with environmental DNA, pointing out two things that they want. First, present the study, just like we had seen before. Second, though, in green, it says to an audience already familiar with environmental DNA. That has a very specific that's a specific set of instructions. When it says the audience is already familiar with environmental DNA, what that means is the answer choice cannot give a definition of environmental DNA. So even a few words of definition would be enough to eliminate that as an answer choice. So what we can analyze is, does it present the study? And then also check if there's a definition of environmental DNA. If there is a definition, you eliminate that as an answer choice. Let's go to A. Sarah, this person's researchers analyzed eDNA in water samples from the Florida Everglades for evidence of an invasive constrictor snakes, which are difficult to observe. I understand what the study is, and there is no definition of eDNA. That sounds pretty good. Let's go to B. An analysis of eDNA can detect the presence of invasive species that are difficult to observe. That does also avoid giving a definition of environmental DNA, but it doesn't present the study. So I would eliminate B. If you go to C, researchers found the Burmese python eDNA, or environmental DNA, in water samples. eDNA is the DNA released. Do you see what they're doing in C is they're giving a definition. We can't have that, so C has to be wrong. Finally, let's go to D. This person's researchers analyzed environmental DNA, eDNA, that is, DNA from cellular materials released by organisms. Again, they're giving us a definition. And if the audience is already familiar, we cannot have a definition. So we would eliminate C and D because they violate the already familiar parts where you can't give a definition. B doesn't present the study, therefore A would be the correct answer.